there was a lot of noise. Pete Evans is causing quite a stir down under. What happened? Like, what went down? Give us the behind the scenes.
For 11 years, I hosted Australia's #1 show. It was called My Kitchen Rules. I was celebrated, adored, if you can use that word, by the Australian media and by the public, until I started talking about paleo, ancestral diets.
Interesting. So the kind of pushback started then. I want to up the amount of good quality meats in my day, but I don't like meats, or it gets boring. What's your go-to dressing to zest up any meal?
Every culture seems to have a version of a herb sauce. And these dressings or sauces, they're so simple.
What are 3 things people can do to get more confident in the kitchen?
A recipe is...
Pete Evans is in the building, man. Thanks for coming out for little old me. I appreciate it.
Old you, mate.
I brought you to the country of Pennsylvania. I mean, in the state of Pennsylvania. Have you ever been here before?
Never been to Pennsylvania. I used to host a TV show years ago for PBS in America. And I hosted that for 8 years leading up to COVID. And then it stopped. I couldn't do it anymore. And I got to travel pretty much the length and breadth of the United States for 8 years. Wow. And there's the cops, they're not after me, hopefully. And so I got to work, the premise of the show was a cooking travel show, which I love. I got to work with the top chefs of most of the states, and I probably visited maybe 35 of your states.
Wow.
And I had a preconception of, what American food was like prior to ever coming here, based off television shows and other people. So my naivety was quickly humbled with my preconception that it was all junk food and terrible food over here. Because what I discovered was some of the most amazing chefs with huge integrity, which took me to their farmers, took us to the farmers markets, took us to the co-ops, took us to all these, when I say us, myself and the film team. And I quickly learned that you guys have got so much good produce over here, ethically produced, just like it was Disneyland for me as a chef, but also someone interested in health too.
Yeah.
And I think we'll probably discuss this a little bit more through the conversation, that it comes down to a choice, and sometimes it's hard to find great produce. But in this country, I found the opposite. Like, it was teeming with great produce. So I was like a pig in heaven, or a pig in mud, as they say, or a chef in heaven, because I got to eat some of the most beautifully farmed, caught, raised, produced food in all of my travels all around the world. So you're doing some good stuff over here. And I do want to thank you, Will, for having me, because my wife and I are huge fans, and want to thank you for everything you've been doing over the last decade or two. And,
thank you.
It doesn't go unnoticed.
Thanks, man.
Even in our part of the world.
Well, likewise, man. I mean, shame on me, because I've been such a fan of yours for a long time, and I don't know why we haven't connected more over the past 2 decades. Like, I apologize. It's because I'm in this telehealth center too much and I don't get out enough. That's why.
It's called the Pacific Ocean. there's a bit of a distance between us.
But we have so many mutual friends, and I'm so glad this is happening now. We can hang out and just get to know each other in front of a lot of people.
Well, what's really interesting as well, and why I also want to thank you, is you and your team responded straight away to say, love to have you on. Whereas I reached out to a lot of people that I thought would have me on to talk about cooking for families, cooking for children, with my new cookbook that's just come out. And and very few people wanted to have me on.
Why? Why do you think that is?
I've been thinking about this. My wife jokes, she goes, you're too intimidating because you're good looking. And I'm like, no, it's not that, because a lot of these people have good-looking people on. And I wonder if cooking triggers people. Home cooking, trigger might not be the right word, but perhaps it's something that a lot of people maybe aren't comfortable with. Even podcast hosts aren't comfortable talking about, because I don't know. I mean, that's my perception. I could be completely
Yeah.
off base with it. Maybe my wife's right. I don't think so. It could be timing. It could be a number of things. And I don't like to dwell on it too much or overanalyze these types of things, because the message is, how do we cook beautiful food at home for our families?
Yeah.
As one of the tools.
Yeah.
You know, you have so many tools in your toolkit that you offer your patients and your audience, but cooking is for me sometimes the lowest hanging fruit to implement into one's lifestyle.
Absolutely.
To really get some rapid change
Yeah.
and long-term gains
Yeah.
if we stick to these basic principles.
Yeah, and I want to dig into that today, because there is this fear around cooking, or maybe people aren't leaning in as much as they could, and they're kind of maybe buying the more expensive, already prepared foods, or eating out maybe at a healthier restaurant because they're trying to do healthier things. And it's kind of breaking the bank, and then, or people look at the more expensive things and say, well, okay, I can't afford that, so therefore I can't eat healthy. But cooking at home is a great way to make living healthier and eating healthier more affordable, right?
100%. I've been here for about a week traveling, and it's amazing. Like, my health has changed since I've been here. Like, it's deteriorated. I can feel it, and part of that's due to travel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big journey on a plane, which has its own implications.
Yeah.
But my wife and I cook 99.99% of the time, and going from that to having to rely on being a traveller in a foreign country and not having a kitchen where I'm staying and eating out, it's like, wow. Like, I remember, but I also forgot what that was like. And navigating eating out is, number one, it's really expensive over here to eat out.
Yeah, right.
And number two, then navigating what there is to eat that suits my lifestyle, you know. And it's been an eye-opening experience over the last week, because I'm like, part of me is like, I just can't wait to get home and cook again. You know?
I love that.
And I'm about to go to Salt Lake City after this tonight, and I'm staying in a little apartment where I have a kitchen. So I'm looking forward to going and buying some food and being able to cook for myself while I'm on this journey, because I know how important that is for me. And it could just be a belief, but I know it's going to save me money. I know it's going to save me time. And I know it's going to be equally as delicious as other chefs can cook for me.
Yeah. And I think our convenience culture probably has robbed us of the joy of cooking, and it's created this unnecessary fear. So hopefully we can start to dispel that today. What's your favorite? This probably changes over the years, but what's your favorite thing to cook at the moment?
Wow. We're coming up to about, when I say we, my wife and I, she found this book called Primal Body, Primal Mind nearly 15 years ago, written by Nora Gagaudis. And
I love her.
Yeah.
Where's Nora at these days?
She's moved, I think, near Montana.
Okay. I love her brain. She's so brilliant. Sorry for interrupting.
She is responsible for myself and my wife going on this journey. Like, reading her book, it spoke to me in such a profound way. It just made so much sense.
Yeah.
And so we adopted the primal or ancestral paleo ketogenic style lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it changed everything for me. It really did. Took away inflammation. It made cooking a lot easier. And it has impacted so many people around the world. Not only her knowledge, but others in the ancestral field as well. But she has a beautiful take on it. She's got a beautiful brain. This is Nora. And I'm grateful for my wife for discovering that book, and grateful for myself for actually going and reading it and then implementing the changes as a family. And so to answer your question, what do I like to eat? So over the last 15 years, give or take, it was always meat, seafood, vegetables, fruit, eggs, nuts and seeds. But I guess over the last couple of years, it's tended more towards the carnivorous side of the paleo world. More meat, maybe a little less vegetables on the plate, or definitely a lot less vegetables. And what I've come to realize is that everybody's different, right? I never want to do a blanket statement over, you've got to eat paleo, or you've got to eat keto, or you've got to eat ancestral, or you should be carnivore, or you should be plant-based, because I never want to force my opinion onto anybody else, you know, because my story, my life has, everybody's life story has got them to where they are on their journey and their health journey.
Yeah.
And when we can look at our individual life story and find where the imbalance is or the disharmony is, and it could be to do with diet, it could be to do with sleep, it could be relationships, it could be our career choices, you know, whatever one or many of those imbalances, and they might just be slightly off, or they could be completely off. It could be the geographical location you've chosen to live in.
Yeah.
Right?
Some
could,
disharmony.
it could be, you know, it could be your sensitivity to EMFs, whereas somebody else can not have sensitivities to that. It could be your sensitivity to gluten or dairy or casein, and somebody else might not have that. So I don't like the one size fits all, but over the years from going from paleo or ketogenic paleo diet, I seem to thrive a lot better on a lot of wonderful meats and seafood, some in-season organic or homegrown vegetables, herbs, spices, these types of things. Really, really simple. So my favourite type of way of cooking is over an open fire. I've got this, my wife and I have this little outdoor fire grill. We take one piece of firewood, chop it into kindling, light it up, let it come down to some coals. It takes half an hour. We do it. We usually eat once or twice a day. So we do that about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on the time of the season. We might have some sausages that have been beautifully prepared by our butcher that don't have any fillers, that have come from really nice animals. We could have some shrimp or prawns or a piece of fish or some lamb chops or pork, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And we just cook that over the grill. Nothing fancy. Maybe make a beautiful dressing or a herbaceous sauce. Maybe a little organic mustard or some mayonnaise that's homemade, put that on the side, some fermented vegetables sometimes, some pickles sometimes, some herbs out of the garden sometimes, whatever's local in our area, some arugula or rocket as we say in Australia, or some lettuce or some sweet potato. It changes all the time, and I like variety. I haven't gone the full carnivore for a long time because I don't have any underlying health issues that I know of. And I understand why carnivore seems to work for a lot of people with some major health issues for a short period of time and maybe even long periods of time. But because I don't have any underlying health issues, I seem to do very well on an omnivorous diet. And they say the definition of a human being is to be an omnivore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's beautiful. Even hearing you walk through the foods, you make it sound amazing. I'm hungry over here. So you mentioned dressing, right? Okay. So I'm thinking of the person out there that's like, okay, I know I have to optimize my protein. I want to up the amount of good quality meats in my day, but I don't like meats or it gets boring.
Yep.
And they want the sweet carby stuff, right? What's like your go-to dressing to kind of spice or, zest up any meal?
You're putting me on the spot here, brother.
But like you said, keeping it simple.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's it? Because people overcomplicate things.
Every culture seems to have a version of a herb, I should say. So
we
you
know
don't get
herbs.
lost on me.
We could translate.
herb. And these dressings or sauces, they're so simple. And if we think of Italy, they've got the salsa verde, basil, parsley, oregano, extra virgin olive oil, a little lemon juice, some salt and pepper, maybe a little garlic. If they want to spice it up, a little touch of chili flakes or some fresh chili.
Yeah.
South America, we have chimichurri.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cilantro or coriander in Australia. Maybe again some oregano or some mint if you want to enliven it with some mint in there, and then some ground cumin, chili, lime juice, again extra virgin olive oil if you want a little bit more good fats in there. So, and you can look at all the different Thai has their version of these beautiful herbaceous sauces. All parts of the world have similar types of sauces. So that works so well on eggs, on any type of meat, chicken, pork, lamb, goat, steak. Works so well on fish, wild salmon, wild caught tuna, whitefish, whatever it may be, shrimp, prawns, lobster, scallops, the list goes on and on. Works so well on mushrooms, other vegetables, it's a great all-rounder. And the beautiful thing about it is I encourage people, if they're new to cooking, and especially if they've got young children, plant a little herb garden, depending on geographic and season conditions. But, on the windowsill or backyard, pot plant. Every week or every 2 weeks, go to the nursery if you can, or order some seeds online, some organic seeds, and start planting some different herbs that you might have seen in the Bon Appetit recipe book or magazine or something like that. Shiso leaf from Japan, my favourite herb, so easy to grow for us where we live. Vietnamese mint, Thai basil, simple parsley, cilantro, coriander. Basil is so easy to grow and maintain. Again, depending on the season where you live. But just starting at that level can just give you so much variety. And if you've got young children, you can ask them to go pick it. You can plant it with them and they can watch it grow. And then ask them to pick it, depending on their age, to get them onto the knife, or just tear it by hand, or have a mortar and pestle and get them to make the pesto. With or without dairy, depending on where you're at on your health journey and what you want to put in. So that's a great, beautiful dressing that just is 2 minutes.
You're getting your herbs that you like, and then you're kind of mixing it. What's your oil of choice? You mentioned olive oil. Is it any other oils you like as like a base?
I love all the beautiful natural fats, I mean, we've heard enough over the last couple of years about seed oils, and I'm with everybody on that we shouldn't be eating seed oils. Good quality fats, avocado oil, if you can get a good organic one, not for heating, but beautiful for dressing over a salad. Extra virgin, cold pressed, organic olive oil, if you can find a good one. Is so good. Like, you can drink that stuff, and if you listen to people like Brian Johnson and things, they're really promoting the olive oil, as others do, and you just have to look at the Mediterraneans. The Greeks, the Italians, the French, they love the olive oil. They seem to be doing well on it.
Yeah, they're okay.
And coconut oil is great. Not so good for, I guess, a cold dressing, but great to cook with. And then I'm a huge fan of animal fats, duck fat. As a chef, when I started in this trade, I was 17 and went to culinary school, and we learn all about the fats. We learn about broths. We learn about all these things, not from a nutritional standpoint, but from a flavour standpoint. And the first thing we learn as chefs is fat is flavour. And the fats that we are instructed to use to become great chefs are the saturated animal fats, the beef tallow, the lamb tallow, the pork lard, the duck fat, the chicken fat, or schmaltz, as they say in the Jewish cuisine, and just those beautiful fats from animals. So at home, I like to have the variety.
Got it.
So if you look in my pantry or my fridge, I have the duck fat, the beef tallow, the pork fat. We have a wonderful farmer's market where they make lamb tallow, so lamb fat. Got the coconut oil, the avocado oil, the olive oil. So I'm into variety. I don't want to stick with one thing, because I think they all have their individual benefits. And if you can tolerate dairy and you like dairy, then there's butter. And then if you're a bit iffy on butter, then you can have ghee, which is clarified butter, which sort of removes a lot of the milk solids. So out there's 10 really beautiful fats to choose from that all have a different flavour profile, that all sort of work with different types of recipes.
Yeah, they all have a different nutrition profile too.
They do. Coconut oil with Asian type cookery, they use that, but they also use pork fat, lard, in a lot of their dishes. You look at Chinese cuisine, Vietnamese cuisine, Thai cuisine, pork lard and coconut oil. Yeah, they use that. And then different parts of the world, obviously, beef tallow and lamb and duck, and there is nothing better than duck fat, in my opinion, to make.
So out of all the animal fats, duck fat's your favorite?
Yeah, but finding good quality duck fat, that's probably harder.
Yeah, I don't see it as often.
Because obviously...
Or at all, if I think about it. If you go to Whole Foods, where would you... maybe it's there. I'm not looking for it, to be fair.
It is so easy to make your own. So if you can find pasture-raised ducks or free-range ducks that have lived a natural existence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you got to do your homework for this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you buy a whole duck or some duck legs, if you
Yeah.
render those duck
Render it
legs
yourself.
down and do a recipe called duck confit, basically
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get so much duck fat out of that
Got it.
duck or duck leg, so that you're always sort of going to be in front. You know, you're not chasing your tail, you're actually in front of the game by doing this. And there's some simple recipes once you go on this journey. And so good, I guess I should state this, but if you can, good quality fat comes from healthy animals. That's the stuff we want to be eating.
Yeah.
You know, not from caged animals that have lived a horrible life, that have been pumped full of antibiotics and hormones. And I don't encourage that.
Yeah, right. I'd be curious, because you mentioned how you kind of on the spectrum, you're kind of still omnivorous, but on the more of a carnivorous side of the spectrum. And I think back when I first knew of you and was a fan of you and cheering you on from the sidelines, but 10, 15 years ago, it has to be at this point, it was in the paleo community. And every year, a lot of us would go, I don't know how many years you went, but like Paleo FX was like the mecca for a time in modern American history of all these conversations that are now way more mainstream.
Yeah.
Like we were having conversations about keto and carnivore and paleo diet, even plant-based diets. We had these conversations years ago. Isn't it crazy to see how far the space has come from like a group within the Arnold Event Center or whatever, the Palmer Event Center in Austin, to now it's everywhere. Everybody is hurt. Even if they're not doing it, they know about it.
I predicted 10 years ago that I thought, again, I've been very humbled with my predictions. 10 years ago, I said 5 years' time, everyone will be doing this. But it hasn't progressed yet, as you can tell through, you know, looking at populations, Western populations. We have major health problems.
Yeah.
You know, it's non-debatable that we have some major problems to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there is this might sound controversial, but there is an agenda at play for what we're talking about today not to be mainstream.
Yes.
You know, it is not pushed out there, especially in my country. Like if you watch the morning news stations, and I use the word news.
Yeah, I see some of the Australian morning TV. Yeah, I see them.
So they bring in the registered dietitian to talk to the Australian public.
And the same thing is happening here.
So they promote the dietary guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
You must be eating your 6 to 8 serves of carbs or grains per day, cereal grains per day. You have to limit your saturated fat. You shouldn't be eating too much red meat because these are all problematic foods. So for decades, we've had this very elaborate brainwashing scheme going on. And I'm not saying the dietitians are nefarious in their nature. They go to university and this is what they're taught. So it's rote learning. You learn something, you spit it back out because that's what you believe. That's what the textbooks say. You know? And unfortunately, when people challenge that are in those institutions, they get threatened with losing their license.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real thing. That's not a conspiracy. So you have to toe the line once you get your accreditation, very much like the medical system.
Yeah, and it's similar where a lot of these schools that people are being trained, whether it's a dietitian school or a medical school, they're receiving a lot of their funding from these huge industries. For people that don't know, I would be, if you want to talk about that, I mean, the fact of big food and big pharma, big chem are funding the training of people within healthcare. I don't think that's on accident.
Yeah, and that's where the question mark comes in with the dietitians themselves. Like, are they 100% aware of that manipulation?
I don't think most of them are.
Conflict of interest?
Yeah.
Probably not.
No, I think most of them got in this because they want to help people.
Correct.
And it's years of hearing this is the truth. It's indoctrination. If you look at it from my perspective, and I think yours too, it is a form of indoctrination.
Correct. So the message, like you and I are getting out there, we have to do it through this medium, through podcasts.
A decentralized source.
Because it's very difficult to get through on a mainstream channel.
Yeah.
And, you know, people can draw their own conclusions why that might be.
Isn't it interesting though? Because I feel like the more there've been, and this has always been the case in our world. If you talk about Australia, United States, similar countries, there's always been a preference of one narrative, but it ramped up in 2020, like to the next level where it's like really suppressing information. Even if it was, good information or true information, it was suppressing it. But I feel like it was a big, massive case of they doth protest too much. And I feel like it's backfired.
100%.
Because it's like you basically are saying, don't look at them, they're crazy. And now I feel like more Americans and Westerners than ever are saying, oh, wait, the thing they said for me to fear is actually helping me.
100%, yeah. I've had this conversation many times where, throughout COVID, the mandates, the tyranny, the censorship, the cancellation, the suppression of information, like YouTube is a classic example. I think they banned talking about sunlight and vitamin D and turmeric or these types of things, and when you look at that through the lens now, I mean, you and I were highly aware of it back then, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But now so much information has come out that really has cast a doubt, I think, in a lot of people's minds. I won't say 100%. Everybody comes to this at their own time. Some people will reject what we're talking about, I'm talking about with you today, potentially for the rest of their lives, and that's cool, And again, I never want to force my belief or opinions on anybody else. These are just tools and they're options or choices for people to explore. I always view life as an adventure made from our individual choices. What I wasn't a fan of was the collective choice during that period of time and I didn't abide by any of those collective choices and mandates, as they say, because I've lived long enough to know that I create my own reality. And I choose not to play in somebody else's narrative that I know isn't in alignment with my integrity and my authenticity as me expressing myself as Pete Evans in this earth suit at this period of time.
Yeah. So let's go there. I mean, I don't know a lot about what happens because I've known you, again, in the industry for a long time as this world-class chef teaching people about nutrition, and we're going to get back to that in today's conversation. But there was a lot of noise that I heard from the periphery is like, Pete Evans is causing quite a stir down under. So what happened? Like what went down? I'm shocked, but I don't know the full story. So give us the behind the scenes.
I'll try to do it very quickly.
Okay.
So for your listeners and viewers who may not be aware of the story, for 11 years I hosted Australia's #1 commercial TV channel, show. It was called My Kitchen Rules, very similar to MasterChef and Top Chef and these reality-based cooking shows that you have here.
Yeah.
So we had our own version in Australia, and it became very, very popular. For a couple of years, it was the #1 show. It beat all the other shows on commercial television. And around, must have been the second or third year, I discovered paleo. Up until that time, I was celebrated. I was adored, if you can use that word, by the Australian media and by the public, until I started talking about paleo, ancestral diets.
Interesting. So that kind of pushback started then.
Yeah, majorly.
Wow.
Like,
real food is offensive.
I was attacked.
Okay.
Straight away. And it was bizarre. I was like, why is this so challenging and triggering and
interesting?
Why is this happening? Because I started sharing anecdotal stories of people improving their health that had adopted this way of life.
Yeah.
Some were getting off their medications, some were reducing their medications, others were putting type 2 diabetes into remission, autoimmune disease into remission, anxiety, depression. I started sharing stories about children that were on the autism spectrum that were changing their behaviours in a positive way.
Yeah.
starting to have eye contact, starting to eat different foods, starting to have not the sensory processing issues as well. And, major changes, especially for parents and for those children.
Mm-hmm.
So I shared thousands of stories over a couple of years of these miraculous stories, to the point where they weren't miraculous anymore. It was like, your body's healing, things change.
Yeah, this is what the body can do if you give it the chance to do so.
When you first hear your first couple of stories, it's like, wow, really? No.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Right.
And then it becomes like, oh, sweet. That's, yeah. You'll probably get better if you do this.
Yeah.
Change.
Give it more time.
Not only just food, but we were sharing lifestyle things, you
Yeah.
know, getting good sleep, being aware about your EMF exposure, getting into nature, getting enough sun on the body.
Radical things.
Maybe not using toxic sunscreen.
Yeah.
Just simple things.
Yeah, God forbid.
And so after sharing thousands of stories during that period, attack. Pete's crazy, Pete's dangerous, Pete, do not listen to him. We had coordinated campaigns out there through the Dietitians Associations of Australia, like hiring PR firms to create stories.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, because I was on the number one show for a TV network, the other networks attacked. They saw like that easy bait.
Yeah. Let's take them down.
Let's take him down.
Yeah.
So our current affairs shows would do 10, 15-minute pieces attacking the paleo or ancestral way of eating.
Mm-hmm.
And then they bring on the dietitians and saying, this is completely unfounded, completely dangerous. Do not take this person. He's not a doctor. He's just a chef, even though the information I was sharing was from doctors like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
They never... And I had journalists ask me to comment. I'd say, why don't you speak to the doctors that I've interviewed? They're better equipped at answering your medical questions than I am. Oh, no, we don't want to speak to them. We want to speak to you. Because then we can write the story that you're not a doctor.
Now
you're just a chef.
Sensationalize and delegitimize.
Yeah. And I've never been one for labels because, as you know, you're more than a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's listening to this, you're more than your career.
Mm.
You know, we're multifaceted, beautiful, unique, unlimited human beings that can become experts or have hobbies or passions that are not just our career.
Yeah.
So I found that quite childish to say he's just a chef.
Yeah.
You know. So COVID came along.
Yeah.
Before COVID, I released a documentary with my team called The Magic Pill, which got picked up by Netflix.
That's right. It was huge.
Yeah, we filmed most of it here in the States. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience, and I created a TV series called The Paleo Way as well. 16 episodes, half-hour episodes with beautiful cooking. You know, I thought this is a new style of cooking show. We'll get people that have healed themselves as guests. We'll get doctors. We'll get researchers. We'll get scientists. We'll get farmers. We'll get fisher people. We'll talk about it all. And I tried to pitch that out there, and every network was saying, doesn't really fit into any of the genres. I'm like, yeah, it's a new one.
That's why we're doing it.
But The Magic Pill got picked up by Netflix, which was great.
Yeah, everyone was talking about that. I mean, was that tough to get picked up with all the controversy kind of behind it?
No.
Okay.
No. Jeez, I sound like that guy that does the English thing. No. I don't know if you've seen it. I'll send it to you.
All right.
He's a comedian. But anyway. So it got picked up by Netflix, went global for 2 years, exclusive. And in Australia, the head of the Australian Medical Association came out, press conference, demanding it be pulled from Netflix because he deemed it dangerous. The association deemed it dangerous. And I cheekily responded, can you share the evidence that wild seafood, regeneratively farmed meats and game, organic fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds and eggs are problematic for human health? You show me the evidence that that's problematic, and maybe you can share that with Netflix and maybe they'll consider it. But at the same time, why aren't you attacking the fast food industries for advertising on television when you know that those foods are causing major problems? You know, so we definitely struck a nerve.
Yeah.
With the Medical Association and the Dietitians Associations, because when you think about it, the subscription-based medical industry, you know, it's very lucrative.
Yeah.
And a customer lost potentially out of that system is a little less dollars in the coffer.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a population lost to a degree. 80% of chronic illness can be generally alleviated through lifestyle choices, not just food, but other things, and there's a wonderful place for the medical system. I'm not disregarding that. I've always said modern medicine, ancient wisdom work hand in hand.
Yes, both and, not either or.
Don't dismiss either.
Yeah.
I say that
because it's emergency care. We need it.
bloody oath, I have in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for them and cutting edge technologies.
Yes, diagnostics and catching things early and so many things.
I've had mates in the natural world and they dismiss it. I'm like, yeah, I don't think you should dismiss it.
No, right. The striking the balance. And that's why I think that conversations like this is so important, because they see the wars online, but they don't realize there is a beautiful both and approach here.
Yeah, which is what you're doing.
Yeah, it is what we're trying to do. Okay, so
COVID.
Yes, COVID. What went down?
So I'd earned my stripes as somebody that was a public figure, having the arrows thrown at them. And I've got pretty tough skin, and we can talk about resilience and overcoming fear down the track, if you like. But COVID came and something smelt fishy to me, as it did to many others out there. First couple of weeks, went into a bit of a state of panic, like, what is this? Is this, because we didn't know. And it took a couple of weeks because straight away I reached out to the people that I'd interviewed about dietary health, wonderful doctors. Like, what do you think is happening? What do you think this is about? Should I be concerned? And a lot of the feedback was, we don't know yet. We don't know. And then started getting messages, started interviewing people like, well, this is what we think, this is what we discovered, blah, 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 blah. This is way before talk of vaccines or the shots came in. And so I started sharing podcasts with these doctors, talking about how to build a resilient, beautiful immune system. Why aren't the health experts, the health ministers from all these Western countries not talking about how to increase your zinc, your copper, your vitamin D, your vitamin C, all of these things that can help make somebody healthy.
Metabolic health.
Yeah.
Wild concept.
I know.
Yeah.
So that was the first red flag, seeing the health ministers and the bureaucrats not talking about it at all, and then slowly talking about, the only way out of this is we've got to develop a vaccine. That was like, wow. Because going back to a friend of ours once upon a time said, there'll come a time when they're going to try to mandate a shot for the whole planet, and for something new. And that was always in the back of my mind. And when I heard the rumblings of that through Bill Gates and through others, I was like, whoa, okay. This may eventuate. And, 2 weeks to flatten the curve turned into a couple of years of topsy-turvy world. So I started sharing these interviews, and I was pretty vocal on my social media. At the time, I had 2 million followers combined on Facebook and Instagram, and I started, poking the bear. as I'd learned to do over the years. And, I didn't realise how big the bear was. Well, I had an idea of how big the bear was, but I felt like it should be poked. I really did. And because there wasn't too many people in my country doing it with a profile. In fact, there was hardly anyone with a celebrity profile doing it in Australia. And I started calling it a scam, a hoax. Be careful. If you want to be healthy, these are the options you've got. Sharing interviews with doctors saying that the masks are pretty futile and potentially useless and maybe even causing more harm. Speaking with doctors, talking about social distancing, and they knew at the time it was a made-up fairy tale. Yeah,
and they have since. That's a crazy thing, is that so many of these things, again, whether someone agreed with everything or not, these are ideas, right? And then on top of that, most of the things that people were saying that were being canceled or deplatformed and delegitimized, the governments end up saying yes, everything, as if the people weren't saying it before, are now saying, oh yeah, we basically didn't have any data on that, but we told people to do it, and yeah, we were told we were going to kill grandma and grandpa if we didn't get vaccine, and like all of this stuff they knew. I mean, what do you think of the Pfizer papers and the fact that they wanted to hide these things for 75 years? You know, but you know, we know now that they didn't want us to know a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I have to take my hat off to so many wonderful people out there, especially in this country and abroad, and back in Australia too, to a degree. There's some beautiful people with big hearts,
Yeah.
and have risked everything to share the truth.
Yeah.
And you know, it probably wasn't easy for a lot of these people.
Well, I put you at the top of that list, certainly around the world, but certainly in Australia. But you kind of spoke for, I think, Western culture as a whole. And you mentioned not realizing how big the bear was. How big is the bear? And did you have any moment where you're like, okay, this is a big bear. What did I do?
I was interviewed by 60 Minutes, our version in Australia of 60 Minutes.
They've come here before and they set up a whole thing, and I was kind of afraid because I see what things they can do but they were actually pretty fair with what we did, which I commend them because it was actually pretty decent journalism, which
Beautiful.
is hard to find.
Yeah.
But what was your experience?
Well, I agreed to do it. I was happy to step into the lion's den or the bear trap.
Yeah.
Because they were doing a piece. This is just a few months before the shots rolled out. And it was with the senior reporter, someone that's well respected in journalism. So I was happy to, go toe to toe and be interviewed with them. And they were doing a segment on COVID conspiracies. So I knew already what it was going to be like.
That's the angle of the piece, yeah.
But I wanted to test myself in that situation.
Okay.
Right. I like facing
for the challenge.
I like facing my fears.
Okay.
And for me there was like, well, if I'm going to do it, let's do it with the best.
Okay.
And see how I go,
Yeah.
And,
what could go wrong?
But I agreed to do it as long as I could film the whole interview and share it at exactly the same time that theirs went to air.
That's smart.
So I brought in a mate of mine who had a camera, hour and a half interview. As soon as their 10-minute segment of me went to air, I put out mine on YouTube, which has now been cancelled. We had more people watch the 90-minute version than the 10-minute edited version that they did. And it was beautiful, and that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to show how mainstream media can edit an interview to show one narrative. Mm-hmm. Because they're very skilled at that.
Yeah.
They can change the lighting to make you look a little bit crazy. They can change the background music to make it seem a little sinister. They can pause it when you're looking a little freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got all the tricks.
Oh yeah.
To
paint a picture.
And then they can team it with what somebody else said and another vision and all of this stuff.
The power of editing.
They're experts at it, I just release the whole thing unedited, I'm an expert in transparency, right? Integrity. Like, I don't want to manipulate anything ever. What you see is what you get. And it was great, just to have that out there because so many people showed the long version to the people that thought I was crazy. And they thanked me for that. They said, because you did that, my mum or my dad or my brother or my children, they got to see the manipulation of mainstream media in real time. Mm-hmm. You got a newfound follower or a newfound respect because of what you did. Mm-hmm. And I got away with that unscathed.
Okay.
And but what was fascinating was I found the journalist was, and this is my perception, ill-prepared, that they had not done their research on what COVID was, where the modelling had come from, that created the mandates and the lockdowns and the social distancing. I was like, you know about this study and where this comes from? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, you're doing an interview. You're the lead researcher, journalist on this segment about COVID conspiracies. Like, you might want to know your facts. And this is what I've found with mainstream journalism over the last 10, 20 years is either they don't have the time or the budget to do investigative journalism anymore. Like once upon a time, journalism was get your facts, double check them, triple check them before you release anything, and know your subject matter. You know, I would never come on here to talk about nutritional recipes if I didn't know my subject matter. You know, if you asked me to talk about, you know, paint colours, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't try to bullshit it because I have no idea what I'm talking about. But this is what I found so bewildering with mainstream journalism. Nearly every article that I've ever read in the last 10 years that has come out about myself, there are so many factual inaccuracies. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Even my age is wrong. They just
Where's the misinformation, you know, calls for misinformation on those inaccuracies?
Exactly, you know, and you know, I just feel like that profession has lost its integrity.
Yeah.
You know? And it but at the same time, what it's allowed is, you know, whatever you think of Tucker, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, these people that are reaching huge audiences, you know, there's a reason for that, because the distrust in mainstream media has opened this hole for a new type of information sharing that seems to be, I mean, you watch Joe Rogan, they want to share the facts. You know, Tucker investigates before he releases. And it doesn't matter what political bias anybody has. Like, if you're going to report the facts. Right. So, long-winded answer. Sorry, I'm good at this sort of stuff.
This is a really fascinating, because it intersects with health so much, because these sort of weird times in Western history, it's largely to do with our space of health, but also to do with freedom of speech and speech about health, and how government policies around healthcare, how they impacted people. And you look at those huge journalists, or, you know, pundits or voices in the media now, like you said, some of these largest people are all these sort of independent type minded people. That legacy, it's threatening to, I think, to legacy media hugely, because they don't know how to operate. Like, wait, if you're not on ABC, NBC, CBS, right, in the States, right, whatever it is, Sky News, is it
Sky News.
Yes.
I'll give you a great story, and we'll go back to COVID. Like, just this weekend, I was invited to Mar-a-Lago, and I had dinner there. And since then, I did a post, and I shook hands with Donald Trump and Elon Musk and James O'Keefe was from Project Veritas, and had a meeting with Marla Maples, Donald Trump's ex-partner or wife. And since then, over the last couple of days, every news station pretty much in Australia wants to interview me. And I'm like, no. I'm not going to feed your machine, because your machine is broken. And I have no respect really for what you put out there. You know, if you started to report factual, honestly, you know, and have a conversation like this with me without trying to get to your narrative or your agenda, because that's what they do when you're opposite one of these people. They just want to get that one line from you. You know?
And I'm sure you've seen it so much. I know you've seen it so much more than me. Is like when they're really nice to you, and you feel like, oh, they get me. They really get me. Oh, yeah. And then you see the piece afterwards, and you're like, oh, wow, you are horrible. I mean, you really just wanted to destroy someone with words.
Yeah, and I've met so many people that have become initiated by having an interview with the mainstream media. And many of them have said just what you've said. They were so nice to me. I thought they were going to do a good story on me. And these are just normal people that have been in a situation, whatever it may be in their life, and they've trusted the journalist. And then it's nearly destroyed them. You know, some people have taken their lives because of it, because of one story that has been manipulated to make that person look bad. And that's, again,
it's the weaponization of media for a larger agenda.
If you don't have tough skin and you haven't, you know, and you fear what people think of you, the public arena is probably not a good space to go unless you want to overcome your fears in that space.
That's a good segue. It's like you mentioned resilience and learning that. Like, you do get a sort of a resilience and a grit, hopefully, if what doesn't break you makes you stronger, correct, right? What lessons have you learned going through the fire like that?
Wow. So my first major lesson of facing my fear to be seen and to be heard. I was really shy as a child. Like, I would be the kid that, you know, if I was doing a book report in front of the class, I'd be shaking the paper, you know, and like I couldn't think of anything worse I'd rather be doing than being front and center, being, you know, all eyes on me. So I was like that till my early 30s. And then I was offered an audition to host a cooking show. And I turned it down because I was fearful. I was happy in my little box with my team cooking beautiful food for our guests in the restaurants that we had. And then so I turned it down because of my fear, and then I was offered again the same role a week later. And I knew enough about the journey of life to know that it was an invitation, that there was something in this for me to grow. And you know, it was honestly my deepest, darkest fear.
Wow.
You know, more than death, more than sharks, more than anything, was that, being in front of a camera, having people listen to me. Because I didn't believe what I had to share, or I was valuable.
Yeah.
Or
like
that I mattered,
worthy.
you know, and that goes back to childhood
Right.
issues. And everybody generally has their own
Something
version
like that.
of their childhood issues,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Some it could be a fear of spiders, you know. Some it could be fear of closed-in spaces. Some it could be death. Some it could be finding love, not finding love.
Yeah.
You know,
Truth.
we're all unique. So, so I chose to do the audition. I thought, come on, toughen up. Let's do this. And then I got the job. And then I was like, oh fuck, okay. Excuse my language, but
Now you have to do it.
I'm in. And it took me a long time to get. My intention and my goal with public speaking was to get to a place of neutrality, where I could be in front of you, in front of 1,000 people on stage, or a couple of million people watching me at home on the television, whether it be live or pre-recorded. Like, that was my goal. Can I get to the place where I'm not too excited by it and not too troubled by it, just completely neutral, like it's just a walk along the beach? And I got there eventually.
Interesting.
It took me 5 or 6 years.
Was it just time and doing it, consistently showing up, or was there some sort of trick or skill set that you did, some practice you did?
Yeah, it was a combination of things. One, definitely the repetitive nature of showing up.
Yeah.
You know, practice.
Well, even when you didn't want to.
Oh, yeah. And very rarely did I want to, you know.
That's a good lesson for life, no matter what the fear is, right?
Yeah. And I'd had a therapy earlier on that I discovered with chiropractors use, called neuro-emotional technique, or NET. And it works on the premise of that we can have these emotional blocks or patterns that dictate our lives. Learnt or behavioural patterns that we just keep running and running and running. And one of mine was fear of being seen and heard. And so I went and saw a therapist that I trusted that worked on that with me. And it wasn't just one session. It wasn't just one layer of the onion and it was done. You know, for me, because it was such a fear, there were many layers of past memories of that feeling of humiliation, of feeling of fear, or being afraid to do this, and you know, multifaceted reasons. So I persevered with that, and that was a great help to me.
Good.
You know, some people will do psychotherapy, hypnosis, meditation, whatever. You know, we have so many tools available to us, and I'm curious by nature. Like, I've sat with a lot of different psychedelics over the years, again, to because I wanted to get to a place of neutrality around death as well, for myself and for others. You know, so
were they helpful for you in doing that, psychedelics?
Profound. Some of the greatest teachings I've ever experienced in my life. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I actually thank my sittings with these plant medicines and toad medicine especially for my ability to weather that COVID storm in a way that it wasn't a storm for me. That again, it was quite playful. You know, it felt right. being able to speak out. So subsequently, I was cancelled for speaking out, and there was the only thought that I had was they could lock me up and potentially have an accident,
Mm-hmm.
But
So it got that bad where you were worried about
I
that?
wasn't worried, but I thought it could be a possibility.
Yeah. Like if they're able to do this, what's stopping them? What's the end of this? Because all of this was unprecedented.
There's a lot of people that have had mysterious accidents for speaking out on certain things.
Yeah, I mean, just the JFK files. I mean,
Today.
not surprising. I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, you see these things, you hear about these things, and it's like, okay, yeah, we have a history of that.
So hence, being able to speak up, I do put that down to consciously sitting with some of these medicines over the years that have definitely helped me face my fears in a way that brings me into a beautiful state of, I don't really have too many fears.
Interesting.
anymore.
Was there any one psychedelic that you feel was more of a needle mover for you than others?
Well, they're all very special in their teachings. I like to view them as a tool. I mean, I haven't sat with any for years because, and I would never recommend anybody to do them.
Yeah,
I just want to make that
personal journey.
They're a tool, a natural tool that exists. They're legal in some countries, they're illegal in other countries. Understand the laws that surround them in your local area.
Yeah, look at maps in the States. They're doing great research, setting, and yes, these are a lot of this is not legal in the States.
I'm not an expert to talk about this, but I have sat with ayahuasca, San Pedro or Wachuma, psilocybin, ketamine as well. I filmed a journey out in LA where it was legal for me to sit there, and I filmed a journey with ayahuasca as well. And Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, he was there as well, and I got to interview him on his journey, or not during the journey, but during his stay there, about the profound benefits that can be found with this. And again, it's not to be taken lightly, if at all.
Right.
It will call to you.
Right. It's not for some people.
But the Bufo alvarius, or 5-MeO-DMT, or toad medicine, and not Cambo, which is another amphibian medicine, but Bufo alvarius, which is known as, the molecule is 5-MeO-DMT. They call it the God molecule or the spirit molecule. That has been, for me, the greatest teacher. In my experience, and it's very hard to articulate what that is, so I'm not even going to try to even go there. But if anybody wants to learn more, a wonderful friend of mine called Martin W. Ball has a couple of great books. One's called Entheogenic Liberation, and the profound book is called Being Human, which is it talks about the 5-MeO-DMT and what it can offer people and the experience, if you can put it into words, which is very difficult to do. So.
Yeah, the ineffable into literary is not always easy.
No, it's not. But it definitely has given me a greater appreciation of this experience, this waking dream, as some might call it, our earthly experience.
So is that what you taught? It sort of deepened the awareness of life, and it kind of shrunk some of this human drama, even if the human drama is a pandemic and people attacking you online?
Yeah, exactly. And not to minimize that, because it was, that period of time is so challenging and heartbreaking for so many people, and I never want to, make anything smaller than it is for people, But definitely going through those experiences that I chose to do had helped me, give me a bit different perspective over the whole journey. It lightened it for me in and even that word is a bit flimsy to use. It negated a lot of the heaviness for me, because as COVID progressed, my belief was that good is going to come from this. And I don't really like to use the word good and bad or right or wrong, but I knew that it was happening for a reason. And one of the things we learn, or I learned through shamanic journeys or ceremonial sittings, is sort of the mantra: trust, accept, surrender. and love unconditionally. Yeah. Trust what is happening at all times, even if you don't know the outcome. Accept what is happening at all times. If, obviously set your boundaries as well. If someone's interfering, and that's what happened with COVID for me, I was not going to accept somebody overstepping my boundary of sovereignty. And then surrender to sometimes things that we can't control on a collective nature. Things we can control on an individual nature. What are we going to eat today, for instance? But sometimes we have to surrender to the collective to a degree, and then love unconditionally. Love Bill Gates unconditionally. I know there's a reason for him doing the things he's doing that I might not know of. I haven't walked in his shoes. I've tried to put myself in that man's shoes. Just to feel like perhaps he thinks he's doing good for the world.
Right.
through the beliefs that he has and the life that he's gone through.
Yes.
Right. And same for the crusaders out there that I think are crusaders on the other side. Love them, everybody unconditionally. Enjoy the adventure. And so, I trusted in everything that was happening, even though it was challenging at times to trust in it. Still participate.
Yeah.
And not just sit back in the woods and go, la-di-da. Still post, still share information, because I followed my gut through that. Like, this feels right to post, even though it probably get me shadow banned or deplatformed. It feels right. Trust in that journey. Fast forward 4 years, and I'll just use my little life experience as an example. Now I can pitch to people like yourself and other news stations over here. I was the chef that was cancelled. Turned that negative into a positive.
Yeah. Do you feel like that era, that age of Orwellian, groupthink, authoritarianism, the subjugation of free speech, do you feel like that is still here and we just calm down because it's not the height of a pandemic? Or do you feel like there's enough of these sort of populist movements where people are like tired of it and it's not going to happen again? I mean, what's your view on it? Is it gone, or is it here to stay?
I would say in this country that you have broken through. You've stepped out of the matrix a little bit, so to speak. In places like Australia and New Zealand, many have, but definitely the mainstream is still got a hold on on the narrative, so to speak. But a lot of people in Australia and New Zealand listen to the people we're just discussing. They're getting alternative information out there. Sometimes we've got to be careful that the alternative or the conspiracy theorists aren't equally as bad. And again, I don't like to use the word bad, but fearful.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Well, the solution for incorrect information is more free speech, right? Because then you have a free form of ideas, and people can think for themselves. And that's what I think is the beautiful part of truly liberal societies, and by that I mean liber, like freedom-loving societies. And again, all this is predicated on the reason why we're talking about this on a health podcast is that a lot of this is health information, but it could be about anything.
Well, it's really interesting that you bring that up about health, right? Because, and you would have seen this, and I don't mean to assume or presume what you do with your patients or your clients. But I have a firm belief that a lot of our health issues stem from our belief systems, and that can lead into a poor diet or sabotaging our diet, poor choices, whether it be gambling or watching TV into the wee hours of the morning and not getting enough sleep. It could be whatever it is. It's a lot of it, I believe, is based off our beliefs. And one thing I noticed I got a lot of comments with when I was sharing during the pandemic was a lot of people would private message me and say, I'm so glad that you're doing it because I'm too fearful to express myself like you were doing, for fear of retaliation from my friends or my family or my work colleagues. And it really got me thinking about that, because our throat is how we express ourselves, our mouth, our tongue, our eyes,
Mm-hmm.
And I've been around a lot like you have to understand that sometimes these health issues, thyroid issues, might be about,
Mm-hmm.
am I able to express myself freely
Mm-hmm.
around my partner or my husband or my wife or my parents?
Mm-hmm.
Am I suppressing who I am in a way that I feel choked up, or I'm having inflammation or irritation in that area of the body when people don't follow their intuition? That could cause potentially gut issues, right? When we have joint issues, it might be to do with our flexibility in life. Are we too rigid
Mm-hmm.
in the way that we are showing up in the world?
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Why not? Well, because I don't. My mum and dad never did that, and I'm part of this religion or political ideology or whatever it may be, or I was born in Pittsburgh, and that's how Pittsburgh's... I don't even know the plural of...
We say yins. That's about it. That's all you need to know about us.
That's not how we behave.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that young child that was so curious and expressive may want to have been curious to express themselves in a way that wasn't aligned with their parents or their culture or their thing, but they were told, for you to be a good boy or girl, you need to be... We don't like you expressing yourself like that. So
shrink yourself.
From an early age, we can develop these limiting belief patterns and fear of expression of who we truly are.
Yes.
And I honestly believe the greatest question we can ask of ourselves is, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I without my parents' belief systems that I've adopted or inherited or have been imprinted on me? Who am I if I wasn't born in this city or state or country, and I have these values and beliefs that have, again, I've adopted or absorbed from my society and community? Is that really who I am? And that's one of the opportunities for work with psychedelics or entheogenic medicines, is to ask that question going into a medicine journey. Who am I? Careful what you wish for sometimes. Or in a hypnotherapy session or with a trained counsellor, that question. Breath work, fasting, movement practices. Who am I? Am I this rigid person? Am I this flexible person? Can I go with the flow? Do I allow myself to go with the flow? Can I stand up to tyranny? Whatever it may be, all of these things,
the small and big things.
So health is a really multifaceted. It isn't just the food you eat. And I've often said this, you can eat all the organic, beautiful, prepared food in the world and still suffer disease. We've seen it. You've seen it, no doubt. People that are on an organic diet that are ticking all the boxes, and then they may still have cancer because they might struggle with being loved or expressing love.
What are they feeding their head and heart on a daily basis? That's the food that we don't talk about enough.
Exactly. But I do believe that, pardon the pun, but the lowest hanging fruit, potentially for somebody to create more vitality, is to look at their diet.
Yes. That's the entry point.
It can be the entry point for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Because when you lower inflammation levels, you start regulating your gut-brain axis, the inflammation's coming down in the brain, you have more resilience to tackle these big, deep mental mind-body components, right?
And you have maybe a little bit more intuition, or a lot more intuition, listening to the gut.
You can hear that still small voice when your body's not so dysregulated and inflamed.
So you might set a boundary with your partner or your work colleague or your boss, or take that trip that you've always wanted to take by yourself or with your loved one.
Yeah, because when your cup's not overflowing, you're always at that tipping point. You have more wiggle room and you have more resilience, right? Back to that concept of resilience. I see that all the time with telehealth patients. When we emptied that proverbial bucket, they have like more bandwidth to handle life and to be able to make better choices. Like you said, better boundaries and more proactive, less reactive in the world.
That's why I guess one-size-fits-all medicine will never work in its entirety.
Right, it'll fall short.
Human beings, we're multifaceted.
Yeah.
I saw them talking about the cancer vaccine recently. And I'm not opposed to modern technology. in medicine
Yeah.
at all.
Maybe let's set that record straight. Yeah,
Right?
I'm glad you said that.
I'm not opposed to it, you know. But if you're not looking at the human being as spirit, if you want to go that woo-woo, you know, I do, you know, we are more than just our mind. But we are emotional, mental, spiritual, physical. And we have so many layers to us that, you know, why does cancer develop in someone? Somebody it might be environmental. Somebody it might be emotional.
Yeah.
Somebody else it could be whatever.
A combination.
Like, it could be a combination. It could be where you're living. It could be so many freaking things.
Yeah.
That to go in, sure, you might be able to, with modern technology, heal it. But it potentially will probably come back if you haven't addressed
The root
whatever the
causes.
root issue or root issues are. And how do you find that out?
Yeah.
Through self-exploration.
Yeah. Yeah.
And working with great people like yourself.
Thanks, Pete. For people that are like, okay, this has been an amazing conversation. What are 3 things people can do to get more confident in the kitchen?
Wow.
I know there's way more than 3, but let's just lean in.
I could talk for days about the kitchen because that's my passion. To get more confident, wow. Everybody's very different on their cooking adventure, right? I go back to when I was 17, starting an apprenticeship. I knew nothing. I learnt very, very quickly because there isn't that much to learn. A recipe is a list of ingredients. Depending on the recipe, it could be 3 ingredients. It could be a piece of steak, some salt, and some fat.
Yeah.
Simple. List of ingredients, a method. Take a pan or take a grill, light a fire, put it on the flame or over some heat, wait for it's hot, season the steak, cook it on one side for a few minutes, flip it over, cook it on the other side for a few minutes, take it off, rest. Serve. Right. List of ingredients, certain method, desired outcome. Rinse and repeat. Start off with the basics. Start off poaching an egg, boiling an egg, scrambling an egg, then go into the omelettes. And no doubt anybody that follows food influencers on TikTok or Instagram or whatever social media platform you're on, if you start following food and food social media and chef social media, you will be inundated with inspiration of these things, you know. So I would recommend start off basic. How to grill a piece of fish, how to peel some shrimp, just these basic things. Get the family involved. Go on this adventure. Today we're going to do Cooking 101, right? As simple as possible. We're going to pan fry some mushrooms in some beautiful fat, and we're going to make a dressing to go with it or a sauce to go with it. How cool's that?
Yeah.
Start off basic. I have in the past suggested getting a chest freezer if you can, number 1, afford it, and number 2, find a space in the home or the garage to put it in. The reason for that is you can generally buy really good quality meat in bulk and potentially seafood in bulk and freeze it. Because the problem is we'll go to the convenience or the snacks or veer away from that diet if we don't have it readily at hand.
Yeah.
Right? So my advice is always have it on hand, right? The cooking part's the easiest part. The shopping and getting the food, that can be more challenging, you know, because it takes time to go to the markets or the supermarket or the farm or wherever you get your food from, or unless they can deliver it to you. And there's some great services that operate all around the world now, especially in this country. Grass-fed meat delivered to your door, you get half a cow or something like that. So fill up your chest freezer depending on the size that you want. And then third, cook in bulk. Cook in bulk. And the reason that I say that is, so if you do a roast, cook twice as much as you need. If you're cooking, we call them snags in Australia, or sausages, rissoles, cook twice, 3 times as much as you think you're going to need. Put it in the fridge, and the next day, if the kids are going to school, depending on whether they eat at school or you feed them, or if you're going to work, you take the cold sausages or the cold meat, slice it up, take it to work with you with some roasted vegetables, I should say. Sorry, my Australian's coming out.
Hey,
and
let it come out.
Just cook in bulk. Because then if you've always got extra in the fridge, when you're hungry, you're eating the good quality produce.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, then you're not snacking. And it might seem, if you're cooking a big bowl of soup or a stew or a casserole or just cook
Yeah.
more than you need.
Yeah. And then you'll have it, and you can be not at the whim of the week, but you'll have something available.
And I'll add this in as well, because I think this is the best way to say this. Can you change your perception on eating food, the same food, for a couple of days if you want to? If you struggle in the kitchen with time, like, all it is a mindset. Like, my wife and I, we do this. We'll cook a big, beautiful free-range pork belly, and we'll eat that for 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we'll eat. We might put some salad or some veggies with it, but we'll eat that because I don't want to cook a small amount and then cook something the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious cold the next day. Like, cold pork belly with crackling, like, yum. Big leg of lamb, we'll cook that, we'll eat that for a few days. Like, even as a chef, I don't need a heap of variety in my weekly diet.
Mm-hmm.
And that might sound counterintuitive, because I do like experimenting, creating beautiful flavors. But if you're starting on this journey, if you can change your mindset to be, I'm going to go on this adventure and I don't mind doing that. And the last thing I'll say is, instead of looking at cooking as a chore, look at it as a wonderful adventure and a gift. It's a wonderful way to nourish oneself. If you have issues with self-love and self-worth, learn to cook and look at it as a tool for self-love, self-nourishment, self-worth. And then look at it as a tool and a gift that we can offer others. It's unconditional love. And we all know families and parents and grandparents that cook to show you their love. They might not be huggers. They might not come and give you a hug and a kiss, but damn, they'll cook well for you. You know, different cultures, that's how they express their love. So if we can incorporate that, and if that sounds daunting or a challenge, play your favorite music. It could be classical, it could be disco, it could be reggae, whatever. It could be metal, whatever rocks your boat. Put that on in the kitchen and feel that love, feel that vibe, and then put that into your food.
It's so good.
It's simple.
I love it.
It's freaking simple.
But it's an art that the way you made it so simple, it's kind of taking the person that is overwhelmed and kind of leaning him into something that is beautiful. It's an art form. So thank you for that.
Oh, and if you give yourself the opportunity to learn this as a life skill, or better yet, an art or craft. You know, I'm looking at that beautiful piece of artwork in the background here. You know, I can't paint that, but in the future, I want to learn how to do this. My wife and my children are wonderful artists, and I'm terrible because I haven't given myself the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Right. But I want to learn because I know that would feel amazing to create something like that. So if we can have that perception into learning how to cook, like, don't feel like you need to master it in the first week.
Yeah.
Give yourself 6 months, a year, and you will be amazed, like I was, at how quickly your skill and talent and appreciation of this craft just flourishes. And if your children witness you doing that, you know, there's a good chance, leading by example, that when they leave the nest, if they do,
hopefully they do,
they will be inspired to look after themselves.
It's so true. I mean, it's why we call the podcast The Art of Being Well, right? Because it is this, like, wellness is a sacred art, and you're the masterpiece. You can build that for yourself and your family. Pete, this has been a blessing of a conversation. Before we go, at the end of every episode, we have your art of being well. What is the? This is always fun to ask chefs this question, because you may not have one, and you may. I don't know. But what is the worst tasting healthy food that you eat? You're not chefing it up. You're doing it for health benefits, and it's okay. You tolerate it, but it's not your favorite.
Oh, wow.
It could be maybe a supplement, even, or superfood.
Well, that's a big one, because I used to be so fussy as well as being shy. So I was the fussiest kid. Ask my mum, but so I've learned to appreciate the foods that I most disliked as a child. Oysters, mussels, liver, heart, kidneys, brains. Not that I got to even experience some of them as a child, because I just refused and mum didn't cook them. These are the things that I crave now. Like
Wow.
all the icky, yucky stuff as growing up in Australia. Oh, we don't eat that. That's horrible. So it's interesting. So wow, the foods that I'm not even going to answer that one because there really
Okay.
isn't one.
That's enough of an answer because I think that's a place to be at, right? It's this, if, this appreciation of things or getting a taste for things that are different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you take supplements? And if so, what are two maybe out of the box, lesser known things that more people should know about?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I'm very cautious when I talk about supplements.
Okay.
My wife loves them. She researches them. She's the biohacker at home. She's up on all the with the methylene blue and the magnesiums, and the list goes on and on and on. And I was just with Dr. John Lawrence over in Florida, in
He's great.
Sarasota. Talking about supplements, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wealth of experts. So I'm not an expert on supplements, so I choose not to speak about that because everybody's different.
Okay.
If I tell somebody to take something and potentially they shouldn't be for some reason, I don't know. Maybe they're already high in that. So I steer clear of
That's okay.
the supplement conversation. But what I would say, you can get supplements which are, if you're not a fan of organ meats and offal, as the chefs call organ meats.
It's an unfortunate term.
Yeah.
Does not help from a PR standpoint.
Then, I'm wearing the shirt that says food is medicine. And some of these foods, they're not on everybody's top 10 list. The oysters, the mussels, the beef liver or the beef heart or whatever organ meat it may be. So there are supplement companies out there that do freeze-dried, I believe, organ meats.
Like desiccated, yeah.
The issue is you might pay $30 or $40 for a tub of them, for 60 capsules or 90 capsules, I don't know. Whereas you could buy a piece of liver for a couple of dollars, and that's probably 5 jars full.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
where you could make a pate and then maybe put that into a capsule if you don't.
Yeah. Can you make your meals as medicine? Yeah.
Take it down. So I'm not going to push any supplements, even though I know they're beneficial for so many people.
No, I appreciate that. This is your art of being well, and food is first always, no matter who's in front of me.
And I do take supplements when my wife does
She's
like on this trip. She's like, take this, and I'm like, sweet. I'm not religious about it. I go in and out of supplements.
Okay, that's okay. Next question is, what is a book that you've read in just any time, but it could be fiction or nonfiction, but I'm getting this running Art of Being Well book club, and what should I add to the list?
Wow. I love fiction books. I love them. Yeah.
What's one that comes to mind that you loved?
The June, I should say Dune. In Australia, we say June, but Frank Herbert.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the movies have just come out. But
but they were written in the 50s, right? Something like that.
If you get a chance to read the series, I think there's 6
My
books.
son's reading them right now. He's a teenager and he loves it.
Probably the most profound books that I've ever read in my life.
And that was the inspiration for Star Wars, was that book series?
I believe so, yeah.
Lucas.
From a political, psychedelic, human overview, technological, love, power, control, surrender. Yeah, the Dune book series by Frank Herbert is profound, and obviously Tolkien, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, profound. And the last 3 years I've been reading Isaac Asimov's books about robotics, so the Foundation series, the Robot series, and I find that fascinating because we are about to go through this period of human history where we are going to have a relationship with these tools. And he writes so eloquently about he wrote 500 books in his career. He's a chemist, I believe, a professor of chemistry. Brilliant man from Russia. And he talks about all the different potentials of us with robots as our tools or potential excuse me the issues we might face with them.
Yeah.
Overall, he has a positive view on what robots and AI can offer us as human beings. Like everything, like a knife in the kitchen, can be a beautiful tool to help cook, can be a weapon in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Psychedelics, wonderful tool, but, can be misused, non-respected. They're not for everyone, but can be a powerful tool. I see AI and robots very similarly. They're a tool. I believe they can be used for good, but perhaps also nefarious reasons. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can see that for sure, both sides, the convenience and the potential downsides of it, pitfalls of it all. My friend, this has been a blessing. Where do people go to learn more about your work? Tell them about the new book. It's great. All the things.
New book is called Healthy Food for Healthy Kids. It's out with Children's Health Defence. I think it's on Amazon. It's probably not in too many bookstores because the affiliation with Children's Health Defence. But that's out now. I'm writing a book on the similarities between Bitcoin and ancestral diets, which will be out probably in a month or two, which
Amazing.
is another topic we could talk about another time.
Yeah, they come back. Standing invitation.
But you can find me on Telegram, Instagram. I just joined X a couple of months ago.
Cool.
Which is unique. So learning the ropes on that. I've never been on Twitter or X before, so this is new. But if you type in Chef Pete Evans, I'm there. And I have a subscription-based platform as well. It's, I think, $60 US a year. It's got 1,000 recipes on it, meal plans, 500 podcasts, my movies, TV shows.
Wow.
It's all there in one spot.
Amazing. Before we go, the retreats sound amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
My wife and I opened a wellness retreat and cooking retreat space 4 years ago. We take 8 perfect strangers about 3 weekends out of every month. And yeah, it's been so beautiful coming from having a large public profile and being seen by millions and then being cancelled and then working out what's next. So the last 4 years has been this beautiful, I don't want to say hibernation, but it's definitely brought us into intimate settings with people, and people would spend weekends with us. We run fasting retreats, 5-day fasting retreats, which is challenging for people coming to a chef's and his wife's retreat space and not being offered food except for a delicious broth if they choose. But it's been wonderful. We conduct breathwork ceremonies, so we've learned to become breathwork facilitators, my wife and I. Ice bath, infrared sauna, float tank, red lights in all the rooms, blue blocking lights in all the rooms. My wife is holds a beautiful space. She serves a wonderful tea ceremony in the Tibetan Chinese lineage and heritage. So it's beautiful. We've thoroughly enjoyed the last 4 years in I guess going smaller but larger in connection. Larger heart space. And a lot of the people that come, it's their sort of first foray into experiencing anything like that. We have beautiful body workers that come and do treatments. And
this is on 200 acres, right? In the rainforests of Australia.
We often say, 99% of the health aspects is just being in nature. We don't have Wi-Fi, no phone service, so you're completely like a digital detox.
Yeah.
And we're surrounded by ancient rainforests. So just that alone.
Hugely cathartic.
Well, I think something we haven't spoken about today, which I'll finish on, is the idea of relaxation as one of our tools. Because in this day and age, whether you're a parent or a grandparent, a guardian, an entrepreneur, a worker, we're just so busy. And one thing I've noticed by running these retreats over the last 4 years is, because when we started, we offered so many things to the guests. We realised after a while, it was like, no, we need to adapt. What they need is space. They need downtime. Sort of in between going on a holiday and just doing nothing to having some beautiful treatments and connections during that space. But the alone time or the connection time between the guests, that has been so profound. Sitting by the campfire, sharing stories, or the guest having a little half an hour nap or an hour nap in the afternoon in the hammock.
Yeah.
And they often say, I never allow myself to relax like this.
Yeah.
Like, do you hear the programming? And we didn't actually speak about this today, but our vocabulary is so important. How we speak our beliefs out into the world and our reality of the world and how we see the world, the language that we use and the vocabulary that we use.
It's called spelling for a reason, right?
Correct. And you've heard me a couple of times saying I don't like to use the word good or bad or this
Yeah,
or that,
right.
you know,
You're
because
catching
I'm
yourself.
still catching myself when I go into those
Yeah.
learnt behaviors and learnt vocabulary that I'm so used to.
Yeah.
I'm rewriting it, rewording it, respelling these spells that we put out there. And just that alone, that I never allow myself time to relax. Like the guests would say, it's like, do you hear that? I never allow. Like, so can you reword that into, I'm going to relax whenever I have the inclination to do it. So you even take away the word allow. You know?
I give myself permission to, right?
Yeah.
It's like, something. Yeah. It's so true. So true. How we speak and how we even think about ourselves and the thoughts we even tell ourselves, even if we don't speak it out loud. It's what I find is like the ruminating thoughts that people think about themselves or how they think about themselves impacts their health. Like we saw earlier, the body keeps the score.
I think it's going to be one of the major tools moving forward for holistic medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. Pete, come back anytime.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Love to everybody that's been listening,
love
watching.
you all.
Thank
Love
you so
you all.
much.